Chris Coutu doesn't hate politics. He's right here in the studio, State Rep. What's going on, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you, Lee?
What's happening? And you are, you're out and about. You're making a big difference. All kinds of stuff going on. And, you're here to talk about Hartford. Let's start with that. What's going on in Hartford?
In Hartford, it's kind of Groundhog Day again.
Like every day?
We're short about $600 million before a few more things are added into that. We could be looking at $1 billion deficit. We've got about 3 or 4 months to go in our budget year, which basically means the programs that are on the bubble and they're talking about 5-10% cuts, you might as well expect 20-30% cuts because reality is going to wake Hartford up. And the one good thing is the citizens of the state have been putting more pressure. And the Common Sense Coalition, we're putting pressure on our elected officials. The people really just had enough, and you're starting to hear a little bit different rhetoric this year. Maybe it's because it's an election year. Yesterday there was a letter written from about 15 supposedly moderates to the governor saying, we want to work with you, which, I think last year if they did vote for that budget, and sometimes it just seems there's some type of disconnect between the fact that they have the veto-proof power to basically tell the governor, we don't want your deficit mitigation packages, but we'll push through our mandates and other things. But then when it comes to taking real action with the budget, they sort of forget that they have that power.
Right. Now, you had mentioned 20% cuts. Are you talking about, do you think the next time around they are going to start actually taking a hatchet to this budget?
Well, when I talk cuts, I'm talking what the programs that they're cutting. There hasn't been a prioritization of services yet. I've always talked about things such as Meals on Wheels,
right,
heating assistance. Those are some critical services that somebody would say, if you want to be social, compassionate, you can support those programs.
Right.
There's things such as public safety, roads and transportation, and it doesn't mean they should be getting a blank check.
Right.
But it means they should be put higher in the totem pole in prioritization. We still haven't done that, so really it's just a crapshoot of let's just keep on funding everything, and then when the governor or somebody does say maybe we should get rid of this program, there's a lot of crying and people run around the state saying, why are we cutting this program?
I'm not doing any of that stuff down there. What exactly is going on in day out?
Well, I brought a short list on some of the bills that have been talked about. Unfortunately, there's a major disconnect in Hartford. The Labor Committee, which is led by my Senator Prague, and she actually still believes there's a bill, paid sick leave. We have every company in the state saying, listen, let us run our companies. This isn't the time to be giving us more mandates. And this one particularly is coming really from the far left. There's a third party in the state, Working Families, and that party actually basically funded by Labor and SEIU. They have been pushing this paid sick leave. They're lobbyists, special interests, and the fact is this is not a time to do this. And what's resulting is companies like Pratt & Whitney, companies like Wirewine, companies like the Mushroom Farm, these companies are really leaving. They've had enough. Right. They want some stability. They want a real budget where they know the only thing that's not going to happen next year is another tax increase. But unfortunately, it looks like that's the case. We have some things, the public hearings on beyond the anti-business, anti-jobs bills. We've had preservation of stone walls. They have satellite television, dogs at state campgrounds. I won't say that every bill that's presented doesn't have some purpose.
Right.
But there is a lot of time and effort focused on bills that at the end of the day, you just shake your head and say, I can't believe we're facing a massive deficit. And really long term, the next 3 years, it's about $10 to $12 billion with no rainy day fund, really limited federal stimulus. And what are you going to do? I mean, right now they're just saying, hey, we're going to talk about some of these frivolous bills.
Yeah, you're talking about this state possibly billions of dollars in debt, and you're dealing with whether or not dogs can be on a state campground or not. That's going to take that's an all-day affair. Mm-hmm. That's amazing to me. Chris Coutu is with us. All right, we've got State Rep Chris Coutu joining us. We've got a couple more minutes left, and again, he's been kind enough to come on. He comes on from time to time, and we actually have good conversations when he's in here, and we appreciate it. You threw a lot of depressing numbers at us and some sad stuff and some things that feels like we can't get out of. All right, a lot of bad problems. Do you have any solutions to these problems?
Well, sometimes it takes looking at the little things. And the fact that we send out basically 5 to 10 million pieces of literature to citizens throughout the state, basically, in my view, it's promoting ourselves in Hartford. That's something that costs well over, when you're taking all expenses, $2 million a year.
Now, what kind of literature are you talking about?
You get your postcard type thing from your elected official.
Yeah, what is this? I don't even remember. What are they talking about?
Every few months, they may say, here's important numbers that you should know about if you have issues, all different type of services, or it may say some about events they're having coming up, things like that. But the bottom line is most people take them, they throw them in the garbage.
Sure.
And unfortunately, when I presented this, a bill that's actually present in Hartford right now, they won't take it up, which is almost ridiculous. Because if you can't make a cut to something like that, how are you ever going to make a cut to something bigger?
Right.
That's a common sense cut right there. That could save, if it's $500,000, $1 million, you do that times a couple hundred programs.
Sure.
That's how you close a $500 million gap without really hurting, if somebody wants to say we need services, without hurting them. There's also a lot of other areas. One thing, Department of Motor Vehicles has a toll-free numbers it costs us well over $200,000. We've seen other little things, such as locally there was some toilets being flushed. It was 4 to 8 toilets, cost us $40,000 a year.
Is that right?
Security for things like the Norwich Hospital site, while you do need security, that costs $600,000. So I think every program that the state's doing, everything has to be kind of looked into deeply and figured out how we can save the small amount. Now, on a big level, last year I got into a heated debate on the House floor of health savings accounts. Right. These things work, and they are awesome. I had one as a federal employee. Hundreds of thousands of people across America have them, including Dr. Alessi,
right.
And he said many of his doctor friends have them. And basically in Indiana, my position was we need them. It could save the state hundreds of millions of dollars over the next 10 years.
Right.
And I'm dead on, because in Indiana, year one was 4 years ago. 4% of their state employees jumped on board. Right. This year, believe it or not, 70% of their state employees now are on this health savings account plan. And it's saving the state well over $20 million just this year. So that's another big one. Unfortunately, the insurance chairman in Hartford, I have another bill proposed. They don't even want to take that up. There is things such as mandates to towns. If a town like New London wants to do a historical building, maintain it, improve it, it costs $300,000. They have to utilize prevailing wage. That's another situation where we got to be cautious with these mandates. Every year there's more mandates. From healthcare mandates, and that's part of the reason why our healthcare costs are through the roof in Connecticut. And then there's also a lot of mandates to towns, meaning it puts pressure on taxpayers at the local level. But binding arbitration, that's another one that should be explored. We're going to have to look at defined contribution plans for our state employees. We have close to 60,000 employees. Everybody's going to 401k plans. Sure. We can no longer say after 20 years you're going to get 55, 65% of your pay. And if you retire,
it's crazy.
It's unbelievable. And even when you think about the retirement package last year, yes, in reality we incentivized people to retire. But we also paid them 3 years additional towards their retirement. I mean, I don't hear this anywhere in America right now, anywhere in the state. There's no companies out there saying, listen, if you retire now, I'm going to give you an extra 10% on your retirement that the taxpayers have to pay. And you get full benefits. So we have to look at all this. And part of that is, and the reality is, if we want to sustain even those who work for our state, because, a lot of them do a great job. Is there cases where some of them should be moved, basically to reallocate them to more important areas where they can do it more efficiency for the state? Of course. But the fact is, if we want to sustain even remotely 50,000, 40,000 employees, we have to reevaluate the whole system. And what that's going to require is labor meeting back with the governor before the end of this year and talking things out again. Because the idea that we can just continue the path we're going, it's really going to lead to, at the end, the taxpayers are going to be the ones that just aren't going to be able to take it. They're going to be leaving as the jobs are leaving. We just hit 9%. So those are some solutions. You're talking hundreds of millions of dollars right there. Outsourcing community providers, some DSS, DEMIS, other social services across the state, they can be outsourced to community providers. And we know this can be done for half the cost.
All right, Chris Coutu, good stuff there. I appreciate it. Real quick, we got about 15 seconds. Tell everybody what's going on.
We're going to have a welcome home massive veterans parade in Norwich, May 31st. We want all veterans to participate. You can go to American Warrior and email warrior@American Warrior. And thousands of flags, people, thousands of vets really going down the road, and we're going to honor you all.
And we'll definitely have you on before that so we can talk more about that.
Great.
Chris Coutu, I thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Lee.